Y'all ready?
This Stripe live on a Friday evening, coming to you. Here we are with the usual suspects: Eli Sussman, Kevin Brawl, Alex Carver, Isaac Azut. I am Ethan Badowski. Hope you all are looking forward to a great weekend as the Marlins take on the Cincinnati Reds. Coming off a 2 out of 3 against the Nationals. It's their third series win of the second half for the Marlins. They take advantage of the lowly Nationals, and that race for fourth is tightening up in the National League East as the Marlins, I think, moved within a pair of games of that fourth place spot as they try and finish out of the cellar for the first time in a long time in the National League East. They're currently 2 games back, of the Nationals after taking 2 of 3 from the Nats, and obviously we know where they're at. Patrick Corbin struggles last night, and just the team is a skeleton of the World Series champions from 2 years ago. We went into that last time, but I just want to, get into what happened on the Marlins side of the ball these last 3 games. And Isaac, I'm going to start with you. You were at 2 of these games, actually. Getting to go to more games now that I'm out of town. But what were your thoughts and your observations from the last 2 nights there?
No, they looked good. The big part is that they won. They finally won a series for the first time in a while. Alfaro really came through this series. He, as Eli pointed out, he's now got a higher weighted runs created than Wilson Contreras, which is funny, because all these Marlins fans really wanted us to trade.
Wow, is that still true?
109 to 106.
No, that's an outdated one.
That was from June.
Oh, wow, that's my fault.
Yeah. I mean,
thank God.
As much as he's been ascending lately, he's not going to get back to that level. No, that ship had sailed.
Thank God. That's what I figured. Anyway, Alfaro looked good. Anderson had a great series. He looked really well today. He also had a 10-pitch at bat that really stood out to me. He had ended up in a walk. And then pitching side, Eliezer looked good. 3rd time through the lineup, of course. Juan Soto took him deep. Other than that, he looked great the first 2 times through the lineup. And Edward Cabrera, of course, he wasn't dominant, but he showed up and he pitched really well in his debut.
Well, he was dominant at first, right? Through 6 innings with 57 pitches, and you're looking at it and you're like, wow, this is, one of the great starts that we've ever seen in a major league debut. And then obviously the changeup kind of flattens out, and he lets up 2 long balls, and all of a sudden the Marlins are looking at a 3-2 deficit. And so Isaac, or not Isaac, sorry, I just went to you. Alex, I want to go to you, resident minor league expert with Fish on the Farm. Welcome in, buddy. I'm going to ask you about Edward because you've watched this guy as close as anybody over the past, few years. And then now, obviously, seeing him on a major league mound, what were your impressions of him?
Yeah, no, really good. Good to be back with you guys. I was in Jupiter last week to see Trevor Rogers' first rehab start, which I'm sure we'll talk about, so I wasn't here, but it's good to be back. And yeah, man, just really good. I wrote about this, and I think you did too, Ethan. Unorthodox Edward, you didn't see all the strikeouts. It wasn't a lot of swing and miss. But he said it himself in his postgame. He noticed that they were swinging first pitch. He noticed that they were being aggressive. So he just said, hey, guys, here's my stuff. Come get it if you can. And for the most of the night, as we saw, they couldn't. So it's huge for me to see that from him, to be able to notice that, right? In his first major league start, he's noticing that, hey, they're swinging early. I'm going to attack the strike zone. I'm going to get these guys to swing early. And I'm going to try to be really, really economical with my pitches, I should say. Excuse me. And I think he did that perfectly, man, through those first 6 innings. As you said, change up that 7th inning. Mattingly said it too. It kind of got a little flat, got away from him a little bit. But even after he gave up the first homer, he showed the confidence in the changeup to go right back to it. It didn't work out, but for him to show the confidence that he did and just be able to notice that about this Nationals lineup, it's not a great lineup, does have some good hitters in it. So for him to be able to notice that first big league start, that's really big. And the strikeouts will come, man. So yeah, I thought that was really awesome, even though it wasn't a flashy stat line.
Well, I think he kept Soto off the board, right? Or did Soto get
Yeah.
that second homer? Yeah, he kept Soto off the board, which is really, the big challenge, obviously, in this Nationals lineup. And you see some of the highlights here. I think he rolled 3 double plays in 3 straight innings. So that was huge for him to kind of, erase some traffic. He did deal with a little bit of traffic. I think he had allowed 4 or 5 hits, 3 walks. So you saw a little bit of a lack of control. Obviously, he walks 4 pitches in his last batter of the game. And, Mattingly was saying there, in his first start, you don't really want to let it get away from him, and you could see the changeup kind of flattening. So Marlins did what they could to protect him. But I mean, yeah, overall, really fantastic first impression. And it's something I said to you guys is that Sandy didn't strike out anybody, when he first came up to the big leagues either, right? And everybody had concerns about, what Sandy was going to do because he had this electric stuff, but he wasn't striking anybody out. And everybody's saying, why is he not, missing bats or whatever? But it obviously came eventually. I mean, he struck out 11 guys, his second to last time out or whatever. But, I think Eddie, it's not a concern. His stuff looked great. He showed the power sinker, the big fastball, big changeup, great slider, just a wipeout slider. And, I thought he looked great. But Kev, how exciting was it to see Eddie out there finally?
Felt good. I couldn't watch the game, but I saw the highlights and I saw the Twitter and stuff. It looks like he looked good. I mean, he only gave up two. It was only 2 homers in the whole game. I mean, that's about it. Really, he really didn't get much. It was just homers. I mean, that's the only thing that really hurt him. And was it on 2 changeups that he threw? I'm pretty sure. I mean,
I think he tried to double up with a fastball on one of them, and then one of them was on the changeup. But one of the warning signs that he was tiring was that flat changeup. So.
Yeah, it felt good to see the guy in the Marlins jersey. I think we've all wanted this for a long time, ever since that trade deadline passed. I think that's what we've wanted to see for a while now. We finally got to see it, and he's going to be making more starts. I mean, if it's just now to build off the last one and the next one to come. Something that I think we could compare to with Sandy. I mean, Sandy's really built off of his starts, and if Eddie could do that, man, he's going to be one hell of a pitcher for this Marlins team.
Yeah, I was fantastic first impression for me. Eli, kind of let's take a look going forward for Eddie. What does the rest of the season sort of look like for him? What do you have in mind in terms of he's got 5 to 6 starts left, maybe, the last month of September, obviously would like to see that strikeout number improve. So what do you think he has to do to, have a successful end of the season here? Damn it. Well, we lost Eli here.
Yeah.
I got you.
No,
All right,
I'm back. I muted myself and I forgot that. Yeah. It's an interesting question because as encouraging, I guess, as the performance was, making it through those first 6 without giving up any runs. I mean, to me, I wasn't thrilled with the complete lack of swing and miss for most of that starting, and it was a little surprising to me to actually see that. But this is really a perfect environment to break him in because we just know where the season is at this point and the lack of on him to perform. And there's opportunity for him to just experiment with his pitch mix because that's what's going to come down to, really. I mean, it's hard for somebody with his pitch mix to only have 2 strikeouts against 20-something batters. And I'm just really interested to see him experiment with that, seeing certain games where he relies more on the changeup, depending also on what counts he uses different pitches between his fastball and his breaking ball and his changeup. So I'm just really excited to see what the different versions of him look like. We did see some of that also with Sixto last year, where there were some games with Sixto where he threw fewer changeups than people expected, or times where when his velocity was down on his fastball, he just stayed away from his fastball a lot more than usual. So I really compare it less so to Sandy and more so to what we saw from Sixto last year in terms of, even though the pressure is a little bit lower right now because they're out of the playoff race. This is a guy that we're so hyped about because, I mean, among other reasons, he has 3 pitches that you love, 3 pitches that you think are legit above average to plus major league pitches. And depending on certain nights and certain matchups, he can really tinker with that and still be successful in various ways.
Yeah, with Sixto, I want to talk about this because it's really interesting. In his first start, he only had 4 strikeouts, went 10 the next game, 5, 6, 4, and then he finished up with 2-2 in, 2 outings that he kind of got rocked in when he saw Washington and Atlanta that second time, which was, something that concerned us with Sixto, right? Is, when teams saw him again, they were kind of roughing him up, but he only had 33 strikeouts in 39 innings. And obviously, he has that big power stuff the same way that Eddie does. So it is just an adjustment trying to figure out, what sequencing works, what works for guys to kind of, get swings and misses. And so I think it's something that will come with Eddie. Obviously that stuff is going to play, right? Like 100-mile-an-hour sinker. The stuff was just, fantastic. It was great to watch. And he might not have lit up the way that, Sixto kind of lit everybody up and got everybody fired up, in Washington in his debut. But I thought he was really solid, man. And he stayed composed. I liked his, demeanor on the mound. And I mean, it was just exciting for the Marlins. And, obviously you think, okay, he gives up the 2 home runs and you're like, this can't possibly be happening. Like this debut is going so great. And now they're down 3-2. But credit to the Marlins. They battled back and they played pretty good baseball in this series, obviously against a weaker team. And they found a team they beat up on, and they beat up on them pretty good. And one of the guys that played a huge part in this, and he's the next guy I want to get into a discussion about, is Brian De La Cruz. And, 3 hits, he had 7 hits in this series. So 3 hits last night, 2 the night before, 2 the night before. Eli, you did a whole podcast about him this morning. And let's talk about this guy because, people have their concerns, right? He doesn't hit the ball very hard. He's not hitting for a ton of power. Well, he does have a 471 slug, but that's not, the greatest thing ever. But, I mean, he's hitting for a really high average. His batting average on balls in play is kind of concerning. It's way too high to be sustainable. 475 right now. He's hitting 353. So, Eli, in this podcast, what were your kind of main points and what have you loved so much from De La Cruz so far?
He reminds me a lot of Harold Ramirez, and that's really all I have to say because you know how much I loved Harold Ramirez when he was here. The numbers are fantastic. You were kind of nitpicking it right there. I mean, any way you slice it, he's been one of the best outfielders in baseball this month, and he's got to be the front runner for NL Rookie of the Month in August with just how well he's hitting, how consistently he's hitting. But what I mentioned is that, from the very first game, what he stood out to me was his defense. A lot of people were on the same page with me about that was really his first impression. And to me, that is still the strength of his game, is that he is a great defensive outfielder. And he's now been able to do it over this month at all different spots, as like in particular in right field, but now we're seeing more in center and in left field as well. That alone gives him a pretty high floor as a player. If he can play all those positions, he could do it with his arm. He could do it with his route running. The one thing that maybe he needs to work on is communication with other outfielders, as we saw last night in running over Lewis Brinson. But he's checked a lot of boxes as a defender to know that he's going to help you win games that way. And of course, the hitting, not just the fact that his numbers, as you said, are unsustainable in some regards. His batting average on balls in play, 475. I can't even put into words how ridiculous that is, especially when you consider that he really doesn't crush the ball. He consistently hits a lot of line drives, hits a lot of balls that just fall right below that hard hit threshold, but are still like good batted balls to have that have like a high success rate. And what we've seen is that he was actually striking out quite a bit those first couple of weeks in the majors, and there's been a really dramatic improvement over the last couple of weeks, right? So he started off, he's like a 30% K guy, if not even a little higher than that, and that's kind of the number that scares you a little when you see it. And then over the last 2 weeks, he's right around 20%, which is actually above average at this stage for baseball. He's an aggressive hitter, but he's aggressive in a way that he goes after pitches early in counts before he gets in trouble. And he has enough batted ball skills, and especially using the middle of the field, that he gets results early in those counts before you're in a position where you're worried about strikeouts. I'm not getting too carried away yet at this point. His place in the future of the organization, other than it's clear that he's so much better than the Astros thought, and he's much better than I think any of us thought. It's an amazing value to get him in return for a Renzel Yimi Garcia.
Yeah, I want to put some numbers on some of the things you were talking about, Eli. So his average exit velocity, according to Fangraphs, is 85.6, which is below that hard hit threshold, and it's not exactly what you're looking for. 32.8 hard hit percentage, and then the thing you talked about obviously is the 475 BABIP, and then 6.5% walk rate. He's never been a big walker except early in his career in like rookie ball. And then 27.2 K rate, but he's never been a big K guy either. He's rarely ever over 20%, except again early in his career. Once he kind of got below 20%, once he got below 20%, he was really stayed below it pretty much. So, some guys start out as big K guys and then they just kind of tone it down. So, Isaac, I want to go to you. So we all kind of expect a coming down to earth, right? Like he's not going to hit 353. That just doesn't happen in today's major leagues anymore. But do you think it's going to be super drastic, or is it going to, the guy maybe going to stay afloat kind of somewhere in that 280, 290 range?
Honestly, from what I've seen, some of it could be a little bit sustainable. Obviously, like you said, he's not going to be having an OPS above 900 all the time, especially with the slugging. I expect the slugging to go down maybe a little bit. But he seems to have a good eye. He's a little bit of a chaser like Harold. But just like Eli said, I would say he's like Harold with a glove, with a little more speed, a little more tools. So I think, on a bad team, he's a starting outfielder. And, on a playoff contending team, he's probably a fourth one, but a really good one. So I think a lot of it is sustainable. Maybe a 280, 270 hitter with some power is extremely valuable, especially for this ball club that stars for offense. So I think, like you said, he's not going to hit 350, but anything above, 250 would be a win for 2 months of Yimi Garcia.
Yeah. So Alex, this is where I kind of want to go with this discussion next. Where do you see him fitting into the team next year? So you think he's earned himself the right to start, or do you think, he's really kind of been, well, this is going to be the fourth outfielder of the future. The Marlins still need to make upgrades. We all think Jesus Sanchez could probably be an everyday player. I think, there's some concerns there. But he's looked really good as well, at least to me. So Alex, where do you kind of see him fitting in the short-term future, before we get worried about 5 years from now or, beyond that?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think he could start next year. Obviously, the Marlins can't have to and will address center field, so that takes away a spot. Then Jesus, like you said, who I think will definitely be a starter next year. If it comes down to him and Brinson and guys like Monte Harrison, if they do nothing else and just get the center fielder and stick with Jesus, as we said, I think he could battle for that job in spring training. Like everything you guys said, just because of everything that you guys all just said, it looks good. I think when he first started, his big league career is coming out of AAA. That's the old international league. That's hitter friendly. He hit 12 home runs there this year. That's probably why. I really don't think he has spectacular power. I don't think the Astros did either, because if they did and they play at Minute Maid Park, he'd probably still be there as a fourth outfielder. He comes over to the Marlins, as you guys said, for I think next to nothing. No knock on Yimi Garcia, but it's rental and he hasn't been good for them. And this guy's basically done everything, as you guys said. He's fast. He's hitting early in counts, as Eli stated. As you guys stated, though, it's definitely not sustainable what he's doing right now. But man, even if this guy could be a 250, 260 hitter, as Isaac said off the bench, that's huge. And it's definitely an upgrade over, Magneuris Sierra and even guys like Brian Miller. It's an upgrade over him as well, as much as I like him. So yeah, a good piece to get back. I like him. I like what he's doing, but he's not going to hit 393 at Lone Depot Park forever. Right. So, that's going to come down. So we'll see what happens there. I think some of it is sustainable, but it'll come down probably, I think, to that 250, 260 range with good on base, which is perfectly fine for a fourth outfielder with great defense. So good all around.
Kev, how much of an upgrade would it be for the Marlins if this guy is the fourth outfielder over, what they have right now?
I think it would be better than anything they have right now on that bench. He's been phenomenal. And honestly, I think it'll come down more to spring training around that time when they'll decide that outfielder. That the three, because let's say they do bring in, for example, Brian Reynolds, which it could happen. And then you have Jesus at right field. It's pretty much the competition for left field after that. And Jesus really has a chance to win it. If he keeps impressing now, he very much could win. Unless, I don't know, Vladair or Burdick comes up, which I doubt it. Maybe they start in the minors in 2022. That's something Alex could clarify a little bit more there later. But yeah, De La Cruz really has shown a lot into possibly be that fourth outfielder. It's more of a sigh of relief, really. You have a guy you could rely on in those moments that you needed him, and then he could come in defensively in the middle of games, and he's been extremely good defensively. He's shown it all. I mean, sliding catches. He's been moving well defensively, and he could play all three outfield spots, which is a big benefit too for this team. So, De La Cruz as a fourth outfielder, I don't mind it at all. And if he keeps playing the way he's playing, which most likely he won't be playing the rest of the season, but maybe, like you guys said, 250, 260 maybe, I'll still take that over Magneuris Sierra one whatever. I mean, he's not even batting 2. So it makes sense to get a guy like De La Cruz in there as a fourth outfielder, possibly even the start of next season. The way this team's looking like, he could very much earn that spot in left field.
Daniel Rodriguez is joining us. He is on site at Marlins Park tonight. Daniel, welcome in. Marlins coming off this 2 out of 3 victory against the Nationals, now moving into a 3-game set with the Reds. What's the kind of vibe at the ballpark like? What did Donnie have anything of note to say? And then also, let's start here before we get into that. Just we were talking about Brian De La Cruz, just your thoughts on him and what you've seen from him so far, the kind of impression he's made in this first month with the team.
I think he's really been impressing, not only offensively, but defensively. He's quickly becoming one of the best defensive, not even outfielders on the team, but just players overall. I think he has potential to maybe even be a starter. But for right now, I actually see him, like I agree with Kevin, as the number 4 guy. I think having him as a 4, rather Magneuris Sierra, who's batting like under 200. I don't even think he's had a home run. It's just not looking good for him. Yeah, he has speed, but I think Brian De La Cruz is just an overall way better option to have in that outfield rather than Mags. And talking about the vibe, it's a lot of Reds fans here tonight, to be honest. Most of them are coming here to see one guy, that's Joey Votto. Joey Votto has just been almost incredible. I don't want to say a comeback season, but just it seems like everything's really being put together. They have a really great young team, Castellanos. They have India. I'm just looking at that lineup and just all-star after all-star right after it. And it's going to be a tough series for the Fists going up against the Reds.
Well, you mentioned him, so I guess we can start this discussion here because I did want to get into this last time the Marlins played the Reds, but obviously we didn't get to it on that past show. But there's this really hot topic on Marlins Twitter right now, right, which is, Jonathan India and Trevor Rogers. So those seems to be the 2 top candidates for Rookie of the Year right now. India has been the best hitter rookie among rookies in the NFL. Football's right around the corner, man. It's leaking in the National League. And Trevor Rogers has been the best rookie pitcher in the National League. It hasn't really been close at either spot, right? Like, India has been so clear of everybody else. He's leading in all the categories pretty much. I saw the Reds put out today. Trevor has, 2 National League Rookie of the Month under his belt. He was an all-star. But we haven't seen him in a long time. And before he went down, he wasn't the same Trevor, right? He had been struggling a little bit, by his standards, I guess you could say. He still, I don't think, has allowed more than 3 earned runs all season. Pulling up the numbers now, 2.45 ERA, 10.55 Ks per 9, 2.62 FIP, 3.3 WAR. This guy's been tremendous this year, but he seems to have gotten kind of forgotten about, right? And these things always kind of turn into popularity contests at the end of the day. Especially the National League, especially like Rookie of the Year, like Devin Williams was a sensation last year. And I don't think he was more valuable or better than Alec Boehm, let's say, and he won Rookie of the Year. But, Trevor hasn't had the greatest time go of it recently before he came, went on bereavement. And now obviously, building back up after it's been almost a month since we've seen him, I think. Yeah. The last time we saw him was on July 31st. So coming up on, it'll be a month. He missed all of August. And obviously, understandable reasons after finding out why. And so, with Trevor, he's got a month left, right? He's going to have all of September. It'll be 4 or 5 starts. And the Marlins are saying he's good to go. They were going to try and keep him at 170 innings. He's at only 110, I think, right now. So he's good to go. They're not going to hold him back. Yeah, 110 innings, 129 strikeouts in those 110 innings. They're not going to hold him back in the slightest, right? He's going to, if he's good to go 7, 8, even 9, the Marlins are going to let him do it. They're not going to keep him on an innings limit. So, Isaac, what does he have to do, man? Because he's got ground to make up now because he missed so much time. But when you look at it, he really is still maybe the best candidate out there. So what do you kind of think his September has to look like in order to lock that up?
Yeah, it's interesting. He's got to come back, and obviously pitch well. He can't, have any more, these like 4 or 5 inning starts where he doesn't go too deep into the games. But it's going to be interesting to see because I know, for the MVP award, that usually doesn't go to the pitcher. So for the rookie of the year, like you said, he's the best pitcher and India's the best hitter. So it's up to the writers to decide, which one has been the better rookie. It's going to be a tough decision for sure. So at that point, maybe it becomes a popularity contest, which guy's on the better team, in which case India would have the advantage. But, to answer your question, Rogers going to have to come out and pitch well, go deep into games. He's got plenty of innings to, go deep into them. So, just keep doing what he's doing. If he goes all of his starts without allowing more than 3 runs to finish off the season, I think you have to give it to him at that point. But we'll see.
Alex, I saw you kind of shaking my head, when I bring India up. You guys, a lot of people know I think that, I'm a little biased towards India. He's a Gator. I love the guy. Watched him my freshman year here, but he has been tremendous, and that's undeniable. But I'm not necessarily like rooting for India to win it over Trevor. Obviously, it would be awesome to see it. See Trevor win it. I think it would be like the 4th Marlin or something to win the Rookie of the Year.
5th, I believe.
And yeah, and he's deserving of it. Of course, I absolutely think both of them have great cases, but it's hard to ignore the fact that India is a great candidate. So, Alex, give us kind of the hard defense of Trevor Rogers here. Really put it on me. Why does he deserve it more than India?
Man, I don't really know that he does, honestly. Just because of everything that I have to go with you. No knock on Trevor because I love the guy. I watched him come up. We all watched him come up. You guys all did as well as me. We watched him build that changeup. We watched him grow into this awesome pitcher that he's become, and it would be spectacular to see him win Rookie of the Year. What's up, Aram? Just to answer the question, I really don't know if I can defend that just because of how good Jonathan India has been. And I mentioned this 2 shows ago that, you look at him, okay, he plays in Cincinnati, but he's been better on the road than he has at home. BABIP isn't really that high. It's 342. He's, I guess by his standards, cooled off slightly in the month of August. I guess that would be your only thing if Trevor comes out and, comes back and throws 5 shutout starts. And then, I guess you could put him over him. But if Trevor comes back and gives up, 6, 7 runs in a start and his ERA gets inflated, you have to give it to Jonathan India. So I really think that Trevor's going to have to come back and be close to perfect after missing this time for understandable reasons, as you stated, in order to win it. At this point, I think it's India's to lose. That's my honest opinion. And as much as you defend him, we know you to be fine either way. Ethan, honestly, if you're talking about who deserves it, it's got to go to India right now.
152 weighted runs created plus on the road and 109 at home this year. And he plays in Great American Ballpark, one of the greatest hitters parks, one of the best hitters parks in the league. So just outrageous numbers. And now Arm Layton is joining us, and man, bring you right into this discussion, with Trevor and India. What does Trevor's last month have to look like to hold off the surging Jonathan India?
I think utterly dominant. I think he would have to legitimately dominate as much as we've seen him at his peak this year. I just think when you look at, as much as people want to pretend that it's just an isolated thing, right? We're just looking at the player. It's just not the case, right? Like, we look at the narrative here. It's Jonathan India batting leadoff for a playoff contender, posting the 7th best on base percentage in baseball. I don't know how you pass that up. It has nothing to do with Rogers. I think almost any other year, Rogers is probably winning this thing. But you're looking at a guy that's now setting the table for one of the best lineups in baseball. You can't cite the ballpark, like you guys said. You can't even use that against him. So he doesn't really have much other than maybe the defense. But who cares about defense that much at second base? I think Rogers would have to put up 5 consecutive dominant starts to be able to really come away with this. And, it's not anything against Rogers. I think Rogers could have been healthy and still maybe lost it. That's really how good India has been.
Yeah, so let's start focusing on Trevor from the Marlins perspective now, because he is expected back soon, and he's going to pitch, I think, one more rehab start on Sunday, right, Alex, with Jupiter. So he was great in his first rehab start, and he threw 4 innings, which I think is more than we were all expecting. I kind of expected him to need 2-3, but they've said he's going to be in Jupiter for this week. He pitches again on Sunday. So Kev, when Trevor comes back, what is a reasonable expectation for him, right? Because he is going to try and go out and win this Rookie of the Year award. But he was tailing off a little bit before the month of August, So what should we reasonably expect to see from Trevor when he comes back?
I mean, Haram said it has to be dominance. I mean, this guy, if he really wants to win it, he really has to prove it. And I think India really wins it, not by much right now at the moment. But if Trevor comes in whenever he comes back and he just starts pitching very good games, just dominant, maybe 5-6 innings, 5-6 Ks, you allow maybe 1 or 2 runs, that's pretty dominant. I mean, if the Marlins win especially, I mean, this guy's really shown it out. He went to the All-Star game as well. We have to keep that in mind. Jonathan India didn't, if I'm correct. I mean, and I'm not going to say just because of an All-Star game he should win it, but it's something to consider. He was considered one of the best ones in the game, even though he didn't get voted for it. I mean, he had to go because they needed a player to represent. He was the guy they chose. I mean, he really has shown it all to win Rookie of the Year. I think he's gotten that Rookie of the Month a couple times now this season already. Mm-hmm. India, I don't know if he's only gotten it once or twice. I mean, I have no idea.
Because he split one with Patrick Wisdom, who's been tremendous as well for the Cubs, another candidate, but not quite at the level that India and Trevor are at.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult to see really who wins Rookie of the Year. Now India has the slight edge. It's Trevor. He's on the bereavement list. We have to respect that. I mean, whoever's, condolences to whatever's happening over there to his family, hoping for the best. But whenever he comes back, yeah, it has to be dominant. And he hasn't been that good ever since that All-Star break. I mean, he hasn't been horrible, but he hasn't been, the Trevor Rogers that we remember winning Rookie of the Month twice that started the season. He really wasn't that good. But, I mean, let's see what happens. I mean, this guy's going to come back. They're probably not going to play him a lot, at least that first game. They're not going to let him go all out. Probably going to be maybe 5 innings at most or 6, stretching it a little bit. But we'll see what happens with Rogers. This guy's a really good player. The Marlins this guy's untouchable on this team, in my opinion. I mean, this guy's just shown it all to be a future ace on this team whenever Sandy starts to regress, which hopefully is not too soon.
Trevor, looking at those last few games before he went down, only 3 2/3 against the Yankees. He really ran that pitch count up in that game. 4 strikeouts, 5 hits, 2 runs. Same line, but in 5 innings. He had 5 innings, 5 hits, 2 runs, 3 strikeouts, 3 walks. 8 walks in his last 3 starts. Only 11 strikeouts in 3 starts. That's not really what we were accustomed to with Trevor, when he first when he was first getting going, and it's kind of tailed off month to month this year, but still his numbers are still fantastic, and it shows how good he was early on. He was under 2 ERA for a while. And now, he's struggled a bit, and he's only at 2.45, and the FIP backs it up, man. I mean, 2.62. It's not like he's got crazy disparity there, but all right. So Aram is joining us, and I just want to talk to him about one specific subject, and I think we all know what it is. The MILB home run leader this year. I wrote an article about him last week, Griffin Conine.
Yeah, you did a great job.
Great, dude. I appreciate that. Teammates in high school, you are the biggest advocate for this guy. I'll let you have the floor right now. We've talked about him a little bit on this podcast, but I'll let you have the floor right now. Why should we not be concerned about the strikeout rate? Just tell us right now.
No, well, I'll start with this. It's funny. When he first came over to the Marlins, I tried to just kind of lay in the weeds. I was like, I'm just not going to talk about it too much and try to be as objective as possible. But then people were asking me, my prospect ranking and stuff like that. I was like, where the hell am I going to put Griff? If I put Griff 15, he's going to text me and say, what the hell? If I put him just to mess with me, but if I put him too high, people are going to say you're biased. So it's like, it was one of those weird situations. So I just realized, just own the fact that he's your friend, and people are going to know that anything you say about him is going to be a little bit biased. That being said, what I can attest to that I think maybe some others can't is that I can attest to his work ethic, his character, and his makeup. And, there's a reason why he's one of my closest friends, is that he is just well put together, and he really has all of the intangibles you look for in a ball player. A lot of times that comes from players whose fathers played in the big leagues, right? And Jeff is the same way and was the same way. That's why he played for 17 years. With the strikeout rate, look, I think with Griff, it's more so feeling out how he's going to get pitched to, because he doesn't see a lot of strikes. I mean, I watch a lot of the ABs, of course. Like you said, I'm his biggest supporter. And in high A, he was pitched to totally differently than now. In double A, they're attacking him a bit more, but the way they attack him is different. So now he's feeling that out. And it felt like he was just really feeling he always had the power, but he was starting to get the consistency in terms of like, okay, this is my approach in high A. He gets to double A, and what he kind of said to me was, instead of pitching to their strengths, the pitchers, they pitch to your weaknesses more. And that's what's happening in double A. And I think you see it with a lot of players. I just interviewed Greg Jones today of the Rays. And, he was telling me, yeah, it's not been the start I wanted in double A, but I really feel like I'm seeing it well. I feel like I'm doing well, but it's just not coming together yet in terms of the numbers. I think he's always going to strike out, right? But why can't Griffin become the Joey Gallo type of profile? I think he actually might not even strike out that much. Look at the swing. I don't see that much length. To me, it's more about approach, pitch selection, and almost overthinking at the plate sometimes, because he's so used to being pitched around since we were in high school. I mean, there were some times I hit behind him and they would walk him, and I'd be like, sorry, dude. And I'd just try to get a hit, but it was annoying, it was just one of those things that he's had to deal with forever. And now he's getting attacked more. And I think it's a new adjustment.
Joey Gallo, I'm looking at the numbers now. You talk about a comparison to him, 34.5% strikeout rate. Who would have thought that kind of strikeout rate would be sustainable in the big leagues, to where you can be considered a really good player? 129 weighted runs created plus, 3.7 WAR. Obviously, he's a great defender, Joey Gallo. And he puts it all together, man. 831 OPS, 19.2% walk rate. So it can work. But it is, the 40% is a little,
I mean, that's not going to fly.
That's not going to fly. But I talked to when I talked to him for this interview, and he has actually cut it down. He's under 42% now, and 99 weighted runs created plus, despite only hitting 184, because he's got 11 home runs in 30 games in double A. But when I talked to him, he was very clear about what he needs to do, right? He knew what he needed to do to cut the strikeouts down, because he obviously said to me, that's the biggest improvement, I need to make. I can't say it. He told me not to say it, because he was like, don't give it away to opposing pitchers, obviously, so I'm going to kind of keep that a secret here. But, he knows what he has to do. And obviously he's got, Jeff, and when I talked to him, he was like, ultimate old school, work hard, grind it out guy, right? Think about Jeff Conine, he talked about how he just kind of stood there in the box and just kind of had the bat on his shoulder. Nothing really,
he did
flashy
nothing
about him.
He just swung. It was
swung, and it was great. But, it obviously for Griff, I think everybody here, hopes it works out. Certainly me, after I talked to him, and Alex, for people at home that might be watching, we've touched on him a little bit, and a lot of people probably know he's the MILB home run leader, but talk to us a little bit about his profile, kind of, what you see going forward.
No, yeah, I think Aram said it the best with what he just said. And Griffin kind of told us he did a post-game media Zoom call with the Wahoos, and I basically asked him, hey, the strike. I didn't want to go straight to the strikeouts, because of course that's what everybody's going to hammer him for, because that's his weakness. So I kind of tried to phrase it a little different and just be like, what have you seen different here in double A versus single A advanced? And he basically just said exactly what Aram said, that pitchers are noticing weaknesses and they're going to hammer it. So if you show them a weakness, they're going to hammer that weakness. So just closing holes and really not getting out in front is his main thing. And I think that's exactly what he needs to do to cut down on the strikeouts, is not commit too early, because as Aram said, the swing is good. It's obviously built for power. He just really needs to pitch select. He needs to notice pitches a little bit better, and just not swing.
Pitch. Bullock ready the pitch. Blowing out to left. First pitch. Conine swings, and it's another home run for Conine.
Oh,
how about a two-homer performance? This one into.
He's a major league player playing in double A versus when he was playing in high school and hitting home runs in basically every single at bat. So, that's the difference. But yeah, it's an aggressive hitter. He just needs to work it out, man. He got a big promotion to AA, no freaking out yet. You want to see the walks come up. You want to see the strikeouts go down. But man, even if he becomes like a 250, 245, 250 hitter with that power, it's definitely doable. So yeah, it's not a long way to go, but he does have some improvements to make to fill out for sure.
Yeah, and one thing I want to say on that too is I think you bring up a really good point. And even just like removing myself from just knowing it, the personal situation, you look at somebody like Griffin. Yeah, he's 24 years old, but in terms of the experience, right? He misses 50 games due to the Ritalin suspension. Then he misses the 2020 season. So he's disproportionately affected than some of the other players. He only played half of a season in 2019, hit 22 jacks and led the league in home runs. He struck out a bit, but he finished the season strong, not K-ing. And then he doesn't get to really parlay that into 2020, misses the season, then gets settled in high A, and now he makes the big jump to double A. So I think it's going to be a feel-out period. He's going to be one of those guys, I think, that you feel it out, you struggle a little bit in double A, then you get the promotion, or you play again in double A next year, and you have a good idea of what you were expecting, almost like a rookie that gets a September call-up. Yep. The last thing I'll say, too, is his lefty-righty splits are consistent, which is a really good sign in terms of the Ks. He hits lefties, and you just saw the video that we put up here that Eli put up. Like, he goes out to all fields. You texted me, Ethan, like, do you have the spray charts? And I was like, no, I wish, because I always try to find it because it's foul pole to foul pole. So the swing plays, it's really like Alex said, it's pitch selection, it's pitch rec. And I think that's something you just get after at-bats. And I think for him, it's just reps to wrap it up there. But again, you did a great job on that VC that I had a blast reading it because obviously I know a ton about him, but I still felt like I was getting a new angle. So hell of a job there. And I plugged that on the podcast as well.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it was fun to write. Go ahead.
One more thing.
Yeah, go ahead, Alex.
Before you move on, because I know you got to go on. But just in terms of, you asked me as well, or our chat as well. I think you asked, hey, does he have a spray chart? I was like, I wish that existed because that would be awesome to see because he really is going to all fields, as Aram just said. But another thing that he was asked, I think that I asked him on that same media call, was about going oppo more because he's going oppo like 42% of the time this year.
Yep.
And that's something he's never really done in double A. Yes. That's something he's never really done. I mean, not even in single A advanced, there's only 30%. And then before that, 30%, and then 16% to start his career. So it's just something that he's never done, but he basically said that that's where his swing works the best. That's where he's most comfortable aiming for. So yeah, I mean, that's huge. I mean, obviously you have the huge raw power, but the fact that he's so comfortable going to that part of the field, I think is really big. And that he can not, even if he doesn't go over the fence, if he hits that gap more often, that's huge. And it's going to be tough for guys to set up defenses against him, especially in the outfield, because he can go to every single field. So really like him, man. I think everything you wrote in your article, Ethan, which again, I agree was amazing. Very good.
Thank you.
Great time reading that. And he's a great kid, dude. One more thing I'll say.
Great kid.
Really quiet in high school. I interviewed him a couple times in high school. He was really quiet. Aram could probably tell you that. Obviously they're not coached on how to interview with people in high school, but kind of a quieter kid. But now that he's up, he's becoming a personality, and I really like him as a person and especially as a player. So I think he's going to be really good.
I want to wrap up this discussion with Griffin and then move into the next, to previewing this series with this comment in the chat. Eli, if you can put it up there. If he hits 40 home runs, who cares about his average and how many times he strikes out? That's kind of the major leagues today. So I kind of think, that's perfect in terms of, the Marlins really need power, and it's one of the reasons that they were so keen on acquiring Griffin when they did, and they did it for Jonathan VR, who was on the way out anyway. And, we all love Jonathan VR on the stream. I know that. So it was just a great deal, and he's a good kid, and it was really fun to write that piece. And Aram, I'm glad you got to come on to talk, but let's stick around. I want you to stick around, obviously, because we got to talk about this series coming up with the Reds, who are red hot. They're now they've got a pretty good grip on that second wild card spot right now after the Padres got swept by the Dodgers. I think they've got a 2-game lead in that wild card spot, and they've just been tremendous. We talked about them when we did the stream, before the last series. Obviously the Marlins just saw the Reds. They do have a 2-game lead on the Padres. They're 70-59. Got one of the best offenses in the league. They got so much talent on that side of the ball. India, Castellanos, Votto. And Isaac, this is where I'm going to go to you to kind of talk about this series. Joey Votto, man, one of the most underappreciated baseball players we've ever seen, right?
Yeah, man, for real. The season he's having is absolutely phenomenal, man. To see that streak he went on when it was in Wrigley, it was in Cincinnati. That guy is just so underappreciated in the league, and honestly, his whole career, man. He's really shown up, and he's a big part of what why this team is where they're at. So it's gonna be fun to see him play. For these 3 games, I might go on tomorrow night actually to see Sandy on Dominican Heritage Night. But no, like you said, this lineup is stacked. You have Tyler Naquin, who's having a pretty decent year actually. Moustakas behind Votto. It's a fun lineup for sure.
Yeah, 287 ISO this year. The biggest power surge of his career. And he just said, he's been asked about this a lot recently. What happened? You've always been this pure hitter, take a ton of walks, don't really strike out. And he just said, I'm trying to hit home runs now. I was just listening to the Levitard show, and they were talking about he's just said, this is what the kids are doing now, and screw it, I can do it too. Watch me. And now he's got 28 homers. He's striking out at the highest rate of his career, which is only 24.8%, 143 weighted runs created plus, 3 WAR. I mean, the guy is just fantastic. And Aram, you are, a full whole baseball expert, not just Marlins. So obviously just baseball, you talk about, all baseball as well. So Joey Votto, I know he's one of your favorite guys, man. So let's talk about him a little bit, give him the attention that he deserves, because first ballot Hall of Famer, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I talked about this on the podcast with Jeff Conine, Outside the Box with Jeff Conine. I was like, tell me about Votto, because Votto coming up, his first season was one of Jeff's last seasons, and they overlapped in Cincinnati. And he said even at whatever age he was, 21 years old, whatever it was, he was the most focused, stoic, but like also fun and knew how to just kind of balance things out. And he just knew that guy has the intangibles to be a successful long-term big leaguer. And he wasn't surprised that is exactly what ended up happening. I actually, which is quite crazy enough with just baseball, I wrote, I want to say like 10 days ago, why I thought the Reds were going to make a push for the playoffs. And since then, they've actually made me look pretty good. But the Reds, I think that offense plays. The pitching is coming along. Of course, Luis Castillo has had a great turnaround since the bad first half. I still think Sonny Gray will figure it out. Tommy Mailey's got to figure out how to throw at home. The splits on Mailey are some of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen in my life, but that's a little bit of a problem. The big thing for the Reds that's holding them back at this point is they can't hit lefties. And you get to the postseason, you'll get a steady diet of lefties if you have the wrong matchup. You think about maybe matching up with the Dodgers or whoever it is, you're going to get a ton of lefties, and then you're going to get Kershaw if he's healthier, then you get Urias out of the pen, and before you know it, you're in the 7th inning and you haven't scored. So the splits for them are really dramatic, and they're going to have to figure out how they're going to hit lefties. But to go back to Votto and circle back, I think you got to look at every single thing he does, right? The 2,000 hits with the on-base percentage that he has, it's a club of about 4 players, I believe, in baseball history. You look at just also beyond the field, what he's done in terms of off the field, being a likable guy. But now even in the later parts of his career, showing this power surge, like you mentioned, to me, to show those different versions of yourself, to age so gracefully, to amass all of these numbers, first ballot Hall of Famer. I don't care that he only has 2,000 hits, especially if he has another season or two like this. It's not even a thought.
Kevin, I'm going to go to you, man, as we kind of move, 10 minutes until first pitch, 12 minutes until first pitch, I should say. Start moving into prediction time and just kind of looking forward to the series. What do the Marlins have to do to not get swept by the Reds this time? They lost 4 to the Reds in Cincinnati. They come home to Lone Depot Park. Not nearly as hitter friendly, obviously, as Great American. Very pitcher friendly, as we all know. So, what do the Marlins kind of have to do? They've got Thompson tonight. They've got Sandy tomorrow, and then Jesus Luzardo goes on Sunday.
Yeah, it's just score runs, man. That's what they couldn't do last time. Look at Sandy starting in Cincy. He went 8 and he only allowed 2 runs. Marlins couldn't do anything there, I'm pretty sure, in that game. It's just been runs. You got to get some runs. They did it against Washington last night. If they could do that tonight, especially with how De La Cruz has been playing and all the others, they could really get a game on them. But and then Luzardo, it's just about the control. His pitches have been very out of control, is something I've noticed after watching him a little bit more this last start he had. If he could really just get some control in there, I think he could really get some guys swinging and missing out here, and really just going deep in the games, maybe 5 innings, possibly even 6, a little bit of a stretch there. And then for Zach Thompson, just keep doing what he's been doing. He's been pretty solid this season. He hasn't been horrible. He hasn't even been bad either. I mean, he's been a good pitcher for the Marlins. He's been one of those guys who's rose up to the occasion and really taken the best out of that. And I think the Marlins are going to take – I think the Marlins possibly could get swept, but I think they'll win the Sandy start 1 out of 3.
Daniel Rodriguez, you're there at the park, man. I think you're just standing for the national anthem. Lost you for a second, but let's talk about the red side of the ball. So, what was kind of you were down on the field, I'm sure, for pregame warmups. What kind of caught your eye from a Reds perspective, and then what do you see transpiring in this series?
I mean, down there in the field, what I really saw is just the main guys, Votto, Castiano, India, and also the power. A guy that I think people are forgetting is Mike Moustakas. In there, in the batter's box, batting practice, he looked really good. I know he's having somewhat of a down year, but that's a guy that can also give the Marlins some trouble with his power and able to make some contact. But overall, I don't think the Marlins are going to do very well this series. Going up now against Wade Miley tomorrow, Vladimir Gutierrez. It's not going to be the best of series for the Marlins this weekend.
Yeah, I remember in Miami or in that series with the Marlins, he snapped an 0 for 26 with a home run. He hasn't played a lot this week. He's got a couple hits, but he's really been slumping. Mike Moustakas, that is, I should say. So you said 1 of 3, right, Daniel, for the Marlins?
I think they're gonna get swept.
Okay, you think they're gonna get swept?
It's not gonna be well. The Red lineup is just like too powerful. And especially the pitching matchups they're going to have to go against, and it's not going to be well. And even their relief pitchers on the Reds is still pretty good there. Guys like Amir Garrett, and I think the starters are really going to give the Marlins some trouble.
Aram, I'm going to go to you here. One guy we haven't really talked about a lot is Nick Castellanos, one of my favorite players in the league. I was so furious when the Cubs didn't re-sign him after they traded for him at that deadline. He revitalized the offense completely for Chicago, and then they just let him walk. One of the reasons the Cubs are in the position that they're in now. But just talk to me about this guy and how good he's been. What makes him such a great hitter? Going to be a free agent. It looks like he's probably going to opt out of that deal. Going to be a free agent, and certainly I think a lot of people put 2 and 2 together. South Florida guy could be an option for the Marlins if they decide to go out and spend some money. But just Castellanos, and then what you think is going to transpire in this series.
Yeah, so with Castellanos, man, he's a really pure hitter, and I don't think people realize like how pure of a hitter he is, because he's so big and 6'4", 200 pounds, hits for power, especially this year and especially since he's gone to Cincinnati. But most of his career, he's been a doubles guy. I mean, he racks up doubles. He even led the league in triples one year. Like, he's somebody that has just 271 doubles in his career, by the way, which is insane. But this was the first year for him that he was an all-star. Yes, he's benefited majorly from the ballpark in Cincinnati, and that's something that's worth watching. Is he has not been as good, not nearly as good on the road. And the thing with Castellanos in terms of what he can be as a doubles guy, right? Those doubles in Comerica Park, those are leaving in Cincinnati. And that's been the big difference, right? You look at the splits, less doubles at home, those are homers. Vice versa, a ton of doubles on the road, but less homers. He hated Comerica Park, hated Comerica Park. He has some absurd quotes on it. Like literally saying this place is a joke. I can't wait to get out of here. It literally, the quote is, "This park is a joke." So my only concern there, I know he's a South Florida guy, but does he want to play in a park like Marlins Park? And when Nick just hit 500, Castellanos even took the opportunity there. I know he's talking about the old stadium, but just to show you how domed up he is by his hitting environment, he literally said, "Imagine how many home runs he would have had if he didn't play in Pro Player and Comerica." Shut up. Just enjoy the moment. I agree, he could have had more, but he has 500. It's fine. Yeah. So if he's that domed up about it, I just don't see how he's going to be like, you know what? Let's go to Miami.
Yeah. No, it's a great point. And, I actually texted friend of the show, Daniel Alvarez, about this. And I was like, dude, you know what I haven't thought about? How many more home runs would Miggy have if he didn't play in Comerica? That ballpark is just so ridiculous. But Castellanos, I remember when he was with the Cubs, as I mentioned, I think he had 58 doubles that season. And I can't remember if it was some kind of record or not. It might be the most doubles in a season, but he was always a doubles machine. And then you're right. Now he's already got 24 home runs this year. His high for a season was that 2019 season when he went over to Wrigley. I'm telling you, this guy set Wrigley on fire that summer. He had 27 that summer. He's hitting 320 this year, which is the highest of his career. 951 OPS. He was an all-star. He's just a great player, but he's really tough. He's going to be really tough for the Marlins with Votto and Castellanos and all the other guys around as well. So, what was your prediction for this series?
So I think the Marlins get swept, but I think Jesus Luzardo has his best start, which isn't saying much, but I think he has his best start as a Marlin. And by the way, Luzardo also a guy that I believe in for the intangibles as well. Fortunate to know him decently well, and great guy, hard worker. I think right now he's just in a point where it's survival mode. You don't have time to work on your mechanics in a dramatic way between starts. That's why I think it's kind of crazy that he's getting rolled out there every day. It's not like getting at bats where you're just racking them up and learning something every time. It's going out there and getting knocked around. I think he should be working on his mechanics and ironing those things out. That being said, Reds struggle against lefties. I think he settles in at home. I think he's going to attack the zone a bit more, and this is going to be the best start from him. But Marlins get swept. The Reds, I think, losing the series to the Cubs, I think that lit a fire under them, and they realized, okay, we're going to get the Marlins for 6. We gotta take advantage of that, and I think they're going to do it again.
Yeah, you can't lose a series to the Cubs right now. Just not allowed to happen with the state of their roster. Alex Carver, let's go to you, man, for your prediction for this series.
Man, I guess I'm going to go against the grain, and I know Noah's not on here tonight because he wasn't feeling well, but I guess I'll be labeled the eternal optimist for this one. I'm going to say the Marlins get 2 or 3.
Okay.
And I'll give you the why. They just got swept in a 4-game series against this team. And you got Sandy and you got Zach Thompson, who handled them very well, I thought, in his start. Only gave up the 1 home run and 2 runs, so I thought he handled them really well. Then it comes down to what the bullpen's going to do. That's another story. As Aram was saying, this guy Male gives up like next to nothing on the road. I think it's like a sub-2 ERA or something like that on the road, and he's playing at Lone Depot Park. So, but he's going against Sandy, right? So, I mean, if we can score for Sandy, then which has been a problem, then I think we get that one, and I think we win the Thompson start and lose the Luzardo one. So yeah, I'll say 2 of 3, but it's going to be I think it's going to be a good series. I think the Marlins won it after that 4-game sweep.
Thompson, Miley, Alcantara, Gutierrez, Luzardo, Tyler Mahle on Sunday. Those are the pitching matchups for you. Isaac, your prediction.
You know what? I'm actually gonna go with Alex there, and he took the words right out of my mouth. They're gonna be playing with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. I think they just got swept heavy. And it was a frustrating series for them, especially for Sandy. I think he's going to come out and be, really good on Dominican Heritage Night. I hope.
Yeah, that'll be awesome.
It'll be a fun game for sure. And so, what I'll say? They take 2 out of 3. They're playing good baseball. Brian Anderson's seen the ball well. Jorge Alfaro has even seen the ball well. I know, all you guys love him. De La Cruz is hot. They have a lot of hot guys right now on the offensive side. So I'll say they take 2 out of 3 miraculously.
Yeah. I know Alfaro is Aram's favorite, so
I was going to say Aram's favorite.
I'm excited to see where they put him next. It's really fun. I'm just
throw him at short. Why not?
Throw him at third base before the end of the year.
Center field. I want to see. He's doing it all. He's a super utility guy. John Birdie's out. Somebody's got to fill the shoes of John Birdie, and we're seeing Jorge Alfaro do that.
Because it can't be Bryson Brigman. That would never
happen.
No. Brigman can't do that.
I think that just for no reason whatsoever, the Marlins should just throw Alfaro at shortstop just as a double middle finger to all of us. I guess I just did that on the stream.
Did you see also? I don't know if you saw my tweet, because now I'll just give the people what they want. I'll just go off for a second. Highest swinging strike rate in the history of baseball since we've tracked it. Also, the highest swing percentage. Nobody has swung.
Not even Javi Baez.
Alfaro. No one has swung more than him. And no one has had more swinging strikes.
I thought for sure it would be Javi, man. Javi, as bad as some of the pitches Alfaro swings at, I've watched 4 years of Javi Baez, in a Cubs uniform, just watching him grow up and his approach never getting better. I never thought it could get.
Oh, was that the Mets game with that infamous swing?
No, I know.
He could have swung twice.
How is it not Adam Dunn? Adam Dunn.
That's a good one as well. All right, it is 7:10. I know Noah is not with us tonight. He actually went negative tonight. He says the Marlins get swept. I say the Marlins take one of three. I do think Luzardo's going to pitch a little better. Hopefully, I said that last time. I think he'll do it again this time. It's got to get better eventually. It can only get so much worse. So, I think he pitches a little better, but I think they win the Sandy start on Dominican Heritage night. I think that'll be a really great night to be at the ballpark. Recommend anybody that can go to that. All right, so that's all from us. For Eli, for Daniel, for Kevin, for Alex, for Isaac, for our special guest Artem. Thanks so much for joining us. We would love to have you back.
Always.
Griffin Code9 expert. I am Ethan Badowski. Enjoy the series. Enjoy your weekend. And as always, go fish, guys.
Thank you, gentlemen. Take care.
Y'all ready?